斐济议长吉托科接受高端访谈独家专访。首次访华，他走企业、下乡村，参访上海、陕西、北京等地，参观基层立法联络点。他表示赞赏中国全过程人民民主。
And I believe President Xi's concept of democratization of the people is something that we may have to learn from or borrow from.
中斐建交50周年，他期待两国在更多领域深化合作。
The sectors of all the agriculture, fisheries, infrastructure, road building, and all of those.
专访斐济议长吉托科，敬请收看。
关注国际焦点，洞察世界风云。大家好，欢迎来到本期的高端访谈，我是邹韵。今天我们要对话的嘉宾是斐济议会议长吉托科，首次访华并到访上海、陕西、北京。他对于中国式现代化有哪些新的认识？从参访基层立法联系点到体验 biang biang 面的制作过程，他对于中国的政治制度和中国文化有哪些体会？今年是中国同斐济建交50周年。吉托科议长期待两国关系如何进一步向前发展呢？今天我们一起在对话中寻找答案。
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for joining us today on Leaders Talk. You're currently now in China leading a parliamentary delegation, and apart from Beijing, you also traveled to Shanghai and Shanxi. How are you enjoying the trip, given this is the first time here, and what are the major takeaways so far?
We indeed have been here for 6 days, and our delegation has been to the 3 centers that you were spoken of in Shanghai, Shanxi, and finally here in the capital. In the process, we've looked at certain areas of developments in the sectors which they occur, and hopefully learn or take something away and reinforce with our belief that our bilateral assistance between the 2 countries will help us in realizing those development needs in those areas which we have identified.
此次中国之行，吉托科议长先后访问上海、陕西、北京。观察中国在民主法治、乡村振兴、文化传承等领域的创新探索。在上海，他参观基层立法联络点，深入了解全过程人民民主。在陕西铜川市马嘴村，他询问该村从浪杆村到旅游度假村的转变过程。他还参观了秦始皇兵马俑，体验陕西非遗 biang biang 面制作技艺。在北京，他参观中国共产党历史展览馆，了解中国共产党带领中国人民实现民族复兴的奋斗历程。在故宫博物院，他漫步于红墙黄瓦间，领略中华文化的博大精深。
So speaking of the development here in the country, this time you also traveled to a local village in Xi'an. And actually last August, when Prime Minister Rabuka had this exclusive interview with us, he said that throughout the trip, he was taking so many notes. And among all the inspiring factors, poverty alleviation really stood out to him. And this time, given this visit to a local village in Xi'an, I want to show you some photo because this might be the photo or how it looks now, you know, very renovated and very well developed. But maybe you have not much idea about this is how it looks decades ago, you know, when it was still in poverty. Is there any specific insights or experiences in terms of poverty alleviation that you found very inspiring?
I do believe that our Prime Minister, in his visit, had emphasized the poverty alleviation as one of the foremost primary goals of our country. And in doing that, he's guided also by the developments that has happened in rural China, What is most appealing to me is the ability to move a population out of where they are normally most comfortable in,
Right.
and move them to new location where they settle in and at the same time provide their means of livelihood.
Exactly. It's not only about relocating them to a new location.
Right.
They have to have the new ways of, or sustainable ways of livelihood.
That's correct. And I think even more so in their case because they've developed further. The other, it's become an integrated development. You have the products that they produce. You have some units for people who travel to as tourists, eco-tourists, if you like, who come and be able to see and to come and see the village and the type of new living that they have. In our case, because with the coastal areas being eroded and eating into the villages, we have to find places where our villages ought to be relocated. But the second part of the equation is finding the alternative means of their survival in the new location. And that's where our visit to the village in Zanzi was most productive in that way.
Right. It's actually more about a comprehensive transformation from all domains, right?
Correct.
And I heard that before coming to China, one of the cities that you most look forward to is Xi'an, because you love the Chinese history and you've read some books about that. So going there and really be there, seeing the terracotta warriors, and even experience a little bit of noodles, the bang bang noodle. I saw you hand put it. So how was it like? Do you enjoy it there?
Very much. I'm pretty certain my colleagues and the party, our delegation, thoroughly enjoyed our visit to the terracotta warriors, although I dragged my feet somewhat so I can stay a bit longer.
We heard that.
And a bit late for our other schedule. We were rushing to. I have read so much in history of China to know what terracotta warrior means in the total picture of the history of this country. To be able to be there and to see for myself what I've always read in books is something else. I read history generally, but I was particularly interested in the Chinese, the rise of the Chinese civilization, quite apart from the other civilization of the world.
During your visit today at the Forbidden City, you showed great passion in the idea of harmony.
That's correct.
Is this the kind of value that why you love the Chinese culture and the Chinese history? What do you feel the most fascinated about this culture?
Yes, it is the overall or the totality of a human person, right? You take it quite correct. The harmony, the concept of harmony, be in harmony not only with the people but with the nature. Those are the attractiveness of the together or the totalness of the Chinese philosophy. For me, understanding that helps me live and enjoy life a bit fuller than before.
What might be the second and the third stop?
The second, I think, will come to the museums here in Beijing, and all that are laid out in the memories in the halls that we have gone to see yesterday. The struggle of the people.
You mentioned the museum is the Museum of the Communist Party of China that you visited yesterday. There are emotional moments, I heard, when you watched a 4D film which depicted the long march of Red Army led by CPC. Mr. Speaker, what part of the story that you watched there resonate with you the most?
It showed the character of the leader and the people and his followers who brave the terrain and the climate to achieve a certain end. And that end they finally realize, and that to me what makes a character, builds a character not only of the people that are involved, but of the country that arose from the ashes, that arose from the footprints that they built on those rocky and snowy mountains. And that is why I think this country has stood fast and risen and been strong and remain strong because of the nature of their struggle from the early history.
At that moment, you were deeply touched by the story and by their experiences, right?
That's correct. Looking at the way they were able physically to try and beat the elements, weather, to reach their destination. Not only were they happy, I was happy for them personally, even at this very 50 years or so later, knowing from the 1940s and 20s when they began the party and the creation of the nation from that onwards.
This year also marks the 80th anniversary of the beginning of a nationwide war against the Japanese aggression and also the world anti-fascist war. So from both the historical and contemporary perspective, what lessons do you think we could draw from the struggles of those wars?
I'm a student of history in my life, and World War II was one of the things that I had read so much about. And I was telling our ambassador how Shanghai, to me, and when the Japanese occupation of Shanghai was very prominent in my mind, in my reading. And I wanted to visit Shanghai also for that purpose, because of the history and the nature of the city itself, from its international character, together with the invasion and the occupation, and also including the massacres that had created a lot of misery amongst the people, the Chinese people.
斐济是最早同新中国建交的太平洋岛国。建交50年来，中斐两国在政治互信、务实合作、人文交流等领域结出累累硕果，树立了大小国家平等相待、携手共进的典范。
And also, as you know, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between our two nations. And as the first Pacific Island country to establish these formal relations, diplomatic relations with China, how do you perceive this bilateral tie evolving in the past half century? And looking ahead, how do you envision advancing it to even new heights?
We would like to intensify the relationship between our two countries in our bilateral, in all the sectors which we had started our discussion on. The sectors of all the agriculture, fisheries, infrastructure, road building, and all of those are there to be further discussed by our people and in the coming months, in the coming year.
As we know that the One China principle is the cornerstone of the China-Fiji relations. So what is the government's plan to adhere to this principle?
We adhere to it. We confirm every time we have discussion that it is a guiding principle of our relationship, our bilateral relationship with China. And we have never deviated from it in the past. So that still remains and continues to remain as our guiding foreign policy in our relationship with China.
Well, speaking of climate change, as we know that Fiji, as well as many other Pacific Island countries, are at the forefront of this challenge. What is your vision in enhancing cooperation with China on that front in tackling those climate change related challenges?
Yes, I think it's important for technological assistance to help us overcome the nature of the climate that affects our well-being in the islands, how we can survive and be able to sustain our developments as well as our livelihood. The role that China has in the world, in leadership, in various factors, in various areas, in various initiatives, including climate change. And we are particularly grateful to China in understanding the nature of our problems, the small island countries of the Pacific, and understanding and being sympathetic to our needs in terms of climate change.
And also, Fiji has expressed its strong support for the initiatives put forward by Chinese President Xi, and also has joined the group of Friends of the Global Development Initiative. So in what way do you think those very important and visionary initiatives, the role of those initiatives in promoting global peace as well as prosperity?
We recognize the initiatives and the leadership role that China plays in all those areas. We look to China as leaders in this area for guidance and also for support for the future, not only of Fiji, but of the planet.
And this year also marks the 170th anniversary of the arrival of Chinese in Fiji, underscoring the importance of cultural and people-to-people exchanges. And recently, a Chinese animated movie, 哪吒2, has been released in Fiji. And this is now, we would say, a global phenomenon. We heard it was a massive hit in Fiji, and some local cinemas, they had to add extra screenings due to its overwhelming popularity. So how do you see this, the importance of cultural exchanges like this in enhancing the mutual understanding between the people?
Well, it's important because I think it just brings us closer. We have a big Chinese population in any case in Fiji, as you correctly said. 170 years ago was the first family that arrived on our shores. And my village, which is way out in the island somewhere, we had a Chinese trader in our village a long time ago. That's how I got to know the first Chinese, and they grew up, and I had Chinese cousins from the marriage. And so I am very much part of the Chinese heritage as well.
And according to so many people who've been to Fiji, they said that the picturesque landscape together with the Bula spirit evoke a sense of ease. So could you please share with us a little bit about what this Bula spirit embodies and why Fiji is an ideal place for Chinese travelers?
Well, I will be talking on behalf of Fiji's tourist industry and tourist market in this regard. But we in Fiji had been brought up in a close community, in a villages community, very much like the villages in here. And understanding that we live together with nature and with the environment to be. At the very early on in our civilization, we had also sustainable development built into our community, into our people.
Since you are now speaking on behalf of the tourism market in Fiji, what would be the top one experiences or characteristics about Fiji that you would recommend to our Chinese viewers?
Relaxation, to be at peace with yourself and enjoy a bit of a sun and the sand of the Fiji Islands is, I think, attractive enough, and I can only ask that you come and join us and enjoy the beautiful Fiji for you.
1949年10月，菲利莫尼·吉托科出生在斐济坎巴拉岛。1978年，他取得斐济高等法院律师资格。在40多年的职业生涯中，他成为南太平洋地区广受尊重的法律权威。
Mr. Speaker, you also visited a local legislative outreach office in Shanghai and spoke highly about how this mechanism helped to convey the voices of the grassroots all the way to the top of legislative authority. So in what way do you think this model could be inspirational or helpful to the legislative system in your country?
I am a lawyer by profession, right? And I had practiced as a judge for a long time. And one of the things that always occur when people appear before the court is that they don't know about the law. They don't know. The ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? It brings me to the consultation process of the law where the grassroots level are involved
Yes.
in making submissions on how the law should operate against and affecting them. If the law proceeds right to its conclusion, when it's enacted into law, they become part of it. They own the law, as it were. So they say, that's our law, because we brought it into
They feel
being.
relevant and responsible.
It's relevant, it's responsible. And that is why it helps the population follow the law, because it's part of what they want to bring in and to govern their communities. I believe strongly in that. And what I was pointing out in our case, where the laws go down to the village level, its decision is made at a certain level. It does not go to consultation process, as it happens in the example which you were referring to in Shanghai. And that is why the process of consultation of the people at grassroots is so important. And I think what the other important element is that in these communities, they are not only Chinese, they are also people who are non-Chinese. And they also make submissions. So it's not only that it's only the laws that have been created are made from the locals, but also their own visitors who become residents and are there. And that, to me, becomes a much more all-embracing law than just what I was thinking for. And I believe President Xi's concept of democratization of the people is something that we may have to learn from or borrow from.
So how has your understanding of the whole process, people's democracy, evolved as a result of your trip?
It makes it much more clearer to me, understanding the process of democracy in the Chinese sense, right? It's much more towards the all-embracing nature of consultation, which we're talking about, and the involvement of the people up to, even to the grassroots level, and be part of that decision-making makes it important in terms of their following the law, owning the law, and being part of the system.
You were born and raised in an island called Cabra, and
yes,
you have emphasized the importance of education throughout your life. And I quote here, you've said, education is the doorway to so many things for us. So what does education mean to you, both personally and also on a higher vision?
Well, education is what we are trying to achieve now in the development needs that we are looking at now, is to rise above poverty. In a way, it addresses the very issue that we are trying to address now in respect of those who are left behind. And that is to rise above the poverty and be able to sustain a meaningful living for them and for their families.
And I also know that you are an avid sports enthusiast. You joined the Fiji Secondary School rugby team in your 20s and have participated in other sports, including cricket, hockey, and athletics. That's a lot, sir. What are the biggest gains for you from doing sports for so many decades now?
It's physical fitness and character building.
It makes you a strong person? Or?
Absolutely, yes. Knowing, accepting that you can't win all the time, accepting that winning, you take it with a bit of humility. So those are the strong elements in sports that can also build your character.
Mr. Speaker, as your first China trip is going to be wrapped up in a few days, what would you describe as the major takeaways from this very special visit?
Overall, the trip has been a wonderful experience for me personally because of my history, as you understand it, and to be able to see those areas that I always dreamt about, but at the same time also take home to Fiji the goodness and the kindness of the people of China.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. It was a great pleasure talking to you, and many thanks for sharing your very insightful views. Greatly appreciated.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
在专访当中，吉托科议长多次表示，此次中国之行给他带来了很多的启发和思考，特别是中国在扶贫减贫和全过程人民民主方面的探索和成就，值得斐济借鉴。他也期待两国继续深化在基础设施、气候变化、旅游等领域的合作，将中国智慧助力斐济更快、更好发展。感谢您收看本期的高端访谈，我是邹韵，我们下期再会。